this video I'm gonna show you how to solo queue your way into at least diamond with this as Peni Parker, just like I did. As you can see, I'm easily getting win streaks and MVPs almost every game while being top damage. Surpassing even my DPS is what the game considers is a 4-star difficulty vanguard. So let's get into it. Peni Parker is in my opinion an insanely underrated character, especially at lower ranks, and all of her abilities just make her an excellent solo queue and full group pick. So let's go over all of them and all the tips I can share. Starting with her primary fire, she shoots a weakish but infinite amount of projectiles in front of you. These hits deal less damage the further away you are from your enemy. There's not much to say about it other than I advise you to just hold it during fights, while you're using your other abilities to gain potential DPS, since you don't really have to reload at all. Her first ability, Cyber Web Snare, can be insanely good tool in both teamfights and as a sustain tool, as you'll be able to immobilize enemies for around 1 second if you manage to hit it, and standing on top of it gives you bonus health over time. You go from 650 to 800. If you're not always on top of a web, you're basically trolling your healers and your team in general. All of these webs also give you movement speed, and the cool tip is that you can conserve momentum by jumping while you're still in it. As you can see here, if I jump outside of it, I barely reach the line, but when I stand on top of it, I pass it easily. This may sound like useless info, but it's really good to know, so you can get everywhere way faster. Combined with her grapple, you always take less than 10 seconds to be back into fights. But let's go over her other abilities before getting there. Also, do remember you can use your immobilize to cancel a bunch of ults. You should be able to react to the voice lines if they're close enough. Her second ability, Bionic Spider Nest, allows you to place a sentry that will create a huge spider web area that also spawns mini spider drones. These drones will hurt any enemy who comes into the spider web. You can increase this range by adding more webs, and the spawn cap is 10 drones. I can't overstate how important it is to keep the main sentry safe. The more health it loses, the longer cooldown we will have if you wish to replace it. If it remains untouched, you can always reposition it for free, but if they manage to destroy it, you'll be forced to wait up to 15 seconds. So always make sure you destroy it yourself early if you're 100% certain the enemy will get it. Get into a good habit of hiding it behind corners or terrain, preferably inside or very close to the point or convoy, and don't be afraid to reposition it if it's unharmed. Remember, you can always tank it by putting yourself in front of it, if you're safe of course. Her third ability is where she shines the most. Her Arachno mines can be extremely deadly to 1-hour players, which are 99% of players up to diamond. These mines will explode when close to an enemy. You'll need just 2 and some hits or 3 alone to kill most squishies, while you're more than welcome to mindlessly throw them at your enemies while shooting, which actually works fairly often if you aim them up and immobilize them right after. I'd recommend disguising them in corners or places you know supports and DPS players will be located, or else enemies will be able to destroy them easily. To disguise them, simply throw them inside a cyber web and the enemies won't know it's there. If I find some examples of this, you should be seeing them on screen right now, but it's a really good thing to do. It consistently gets rid of at least one player very often. Some cool tech is that you can disguise them right at the enemy spawn doors. Make sure you place at least 3 or 4 to secure kills if they do fall for it. This gives you a bunch of ultimate meter and a 10 seconds head start. While in rare duels, you may also drop this at your opponent's feet, making sure to immobilize them right after. Coming over to the last normal ability, Spider Bond is an insane movement tool and will likely be nerfed soon cooldown wise. You get to travel insanely fast for a setup tank and place a cyber web for free. This is very useful as you'll always get to the point faster than most tanks to create a setup, and it's also really good as a escape tool. Something fun is that you can make yourself incredibly difficult to kill by aiming up high and using the relay mechanic to be pulled back. How this relay mechanic works is after you use Spider Bond, you'll be bound to whatever wall you touch until you press the button again. If you don't press the button, you'll be able to move freely until you stop holding a movement key. At that moment, you'll be reeled back at the wall. It has niche uses if you're creative, to be honest, and you can make yourself very hard to hit. While traveling with this ability, I recommend jumping before using it to grab the furthest ground more easily. Also, do remember to untether yourself or else the cooldown won't start. And for her passive, she just has a wall crawl. You can use this in so many situations, but most enemy marksmen, you just won't expect you crawl into them like that. I'm surprised so many. For her ult, you instantly gain a 450 HP shield and a lot of movement speed for 12 seconds. While in this ability, you'll automatically place spider webs and drones wherever you go, and you'll be able to use 2 different abilities, Spider Sweep and Arachno Mine. Spider Sweep lightly harms your opponents and puts them up in the air, and Arachno Mine behaves the same way. You can throw up to 7 for free while in ult and still keep your normal ones, so don't be afraid to spam it. While in this ability, a lot of enemies will target you, so also don't be afraid to run for a healing pack or back to your team if you get too hurt. The way I would advise using her ult is targeting the strongest DPS they have, and if you can, they support us as well while covering the widest area. Make sure you always go past them so they get hit by all the spider drones like this. Also, for the love of God, don't be like other Peni Parker players and don't hold her ultimate forever. This ult is best used to bait stronger and enemy support ults like Luna Snow or Mantis, and also escape options, while the fight hasn't fully gone all out yet. You usually spit damage, so you also get it quite early. Don't be afraid to use it. You can force enemies out of capture points or convoys by just running around them. Penny is just insanely good at securing any area. With Venom, she gets a team up ability that is in my opinion just not very strong, but it's pretty good for survivability, as it does give you some damage reduction for like 5 seconds, even though it doesn't say it. Before we get into how to actually carry games, if you have any tips I missed, let me know in the comments below. There's always room for learning. Now let's get into the mindset you should have when playing actual games. It's important to pay attention to map layouts and habits players have in them. Marvel Rivals currently has 8 different maps with 3 different game modes. Domination, where you'll need to capture 2 points to win. Convoy, where a team will need to escort a moving vehicle. And Convergence, which is a mix of both. A team will first need to capture a point and then escort a convoy. Penny excels insanely good in Domination, important, she also has a really good defense side in both Convoy and Convergence, especially in the last one thanks to the capture point. And she's just okay when attacking in both those modes, but you can still make it work. The way I play Dominion games, at from start I communicate to my team that I want to get to the point as fast as I can, so I can set up my stuff, blocking important path waves with mines and dealing damage, stacking ult percentage and grabbing control early for free. As Peni Parker, it's rare to not be able to gain point control easily, especially with another tank by your side. You're able to throw mines into it and set up a sentry. Every time you ult, you basically force all the enemies except some tanks out of the point for 12 seconds, which is really strong. Remember to use your tether a lot to get everywhere faster than any other player, and always stand on cyber webs. Make clusters of mines by hiding them in your cyber web snares safely from far away to catch switches off guard and force the enemy to wait and reset or play a losing fight. This last thing pretty much works in all modes if you set it up right. For the other two modes, defense plays similarly. Make sure you don't place your mines in front of the convoy though, as they'll just get destroyed. Hide them around and in a cyber web for random picks. Utilize your wall crawl and cyber bond to punish those annoying marksmen like Hell or Hawkeye. You should be able to win every 1v1 if you stand in cyber web and you shoot and immobilize them. Talking about immobilizing, make sure you spam that shit in the middle of every fight, especially against squishers and divers. Your team will thank you. Penny is the only tank in the game who doesn't necessarily require all healers' attention. If you're able to poke and set up safely while healing yourself with your webs, it's usually better so your team gets the rest of the heals. As I've mentioned before, holding fire while shooting mines aiming up behind the enemies is weirdly successful, as they just like to monkey brain fights and don't really shoot the mines if they're not in front of them. Playing attacking convoy and convergence is a bit more difficult. You have to pay a lot of attention to your spider nest to keep repositioning it so you keep advancing while keeping it safe. Try to get your ult charge and create a lot of space for the vehicle to travel by diving deep inside the enemy team and using it to get people off the vehicle itself, placing mines below the squishes and throw them into the air. You can disguise the ult mines, but all the cyber walls will expire the moment your ult ends, so make sure you can go back safely after. Again, my biggest advice when playing this character is to deeply focus on learning enemy patterns and map layouts. Players can be extremely predictable if you know how most of them move and where they go or come from. Any other tip I can give you is situational really. You'll learn faster as you play her than if I were to explain them all to you. Span games and you'll be better than 99% of Peni Parker players in no time, while keeping these tips in mind. One last thing I should mention is that she has an insane synergy with Groot. She forces enemies to walk through tighter spaces and it's really good, just try it out. This is my first Marvel Rivals video. I would appreciate some support and any comments you may leave are appreciated as well. I would like to keep making more content like this, so hope to see you soon, and good luck with your games.